On today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins, continuing our series looking back at Don Sweeney's trade history. And speaking of trades, it appears as though one candidate to be acquired at the center position may be off the market. Let's get into it.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I am your host, Ian McLaren, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your day. The podcast is free and available on all platforms as well as on YouTube. So open up your podcast app, hit that subscribe button, search up Locked On Boston Bruins on YouTube, subscribe over there as well. Today is Thursday, June 2nd, and thanks again for being here. If you want to follow along on Twitter and Instagram, you can find the podcast at Locked NHL Bruins, and you can find me, my dad jokes, and hockey tweets at Ian C. McLaren. And it is Thursday. We are that much closer to the weekend. It's softball night around here. Very excited. And on today's episode, continuing our look back at Don Sweeney's trade history. That began on Tuesday with a look at his deals around the 2015 draft. And from there, we're jumping to his first two trade deadlines as Boston Bruins general manager, because there's not really that many deals that he made in his first few years as general manager. Again, we talked about Jimmy Hayes being acquired from the Florida Panthers in exchange for Riley Smith and Mark Savard's contract on July 1st, 2015. Don Sweeney did not make another trade until around the 2016 trade deadline, February 29th, 2016. Now, the Bruins had missed the playoffs in 2015. That was one of the reasons why they had fired Peter Chiarelli, replaced him with Don Sweeney. Sweeney had traded Milan Lucic, had acquired, he had traded Dougie Hamilton as well. That's not going to necessarily help you get back to the playoffs. And in an attempt to shore up his roster, he made a pair of deals at the trade deadline in 2016. On defense, he acquired John Michael Lyles from the Carolina Hurricanes in exchange for Anthony Kamara, who had been drafted 81st overall by the Bruins in 2011. And that package also included two draft picks, a third-round pick in 2016 and a fifth-round pick in 2017. So John Michael Lyles, for prospect Anthony Kamara, and two draft picks. Those picks were used to select goaltender Jack Lafontaine, who I believe made his NHL debut just this season. He appeared in 2 games for Carolina with a .780 save percentage. Great. The other pick became Jack Dugan, who's a left winger for the Vegas Golden Knights. He has yet to make his NHL debut. So I suppose that could be chalked up as a win for Don Sweeney. Lyles recorded 6 points in 17 regular season games for the Bruins that year. He remained with the Bruins in 2016-2017, recording 5 points in 36 games. Don Sweeney also made a trade with the New Jersey Devils, acquiring winger Lee Stempniak for a 4th-round pick in 2016 and a 2nd-round pick in 2017. Stempniak, bit of a journeyman forward. He played pretty well for the Boston Bruins in that stretch. 19 regular season games, 3 goals, and 7 assists to his credit. Those draft picks became goaltender Evan Cormier, who never made the NHL. The 2nd-round pick in 2017 was used to select Mario Ferraro. That pick made its way to the San Jose Sharks, and Ferraro has played in 180 games for San Jose, 42 points to his credit. A left-hand shot defenseman who's still only 23 years old. Now the thing with these trades is that the Bruins failed to make the postseason that year. I believe they finished 3 points back of the Philadelphia Flyers in the wild card race. Despite having a plus 10 goal differential, they weren't able to make the playoffs. Also, in the Atlantic Division, they finished level with the Detroit Red Wings, who had a minus 13 goal differential, but Detroit had one more regulation or overtime win to take the tiebreaker. So some bad luck for the Bruins there, who ended the season 3-6-1. Detroit finished 5-5-0. So if the Bruins had picked up one more point over those last 10 games, they would have made the playoffs. So it was an instance where Don Sweeney kind of went for it, acquiring a couple veterans prior to the trade deadline, but it didn't really pay off as they did not make the playoffs that year. We're going to talk about the 2017 trade deadline here in a moment. But before we do, we need to talk about one of our cool sponsors that we have here at the Locked On Podcast Network, and that is Built Bar. We've been asking, and Built Bar has delivered with Built Granola Bars. Built Granola Bars come in 3 unbelievable flavors: chocolate peanut butter, chocolate coconut, and white chocolate berry. If you want to try all 3, you can get a mixed box right now at Built.com. These are so different from the bars and the puffs. Built granola bars are loaded with granola. It's the perfect combination of crunch and chewiness. Just like bars and puffs, these babies are packed with protein and covered in 100% real chocolate. About 150 calories, 15 grams of protein, 4 grams of sugar. Built granola bars will change your life. They've cracked the code to better granola. They're the perfect healthy snack to pack in your lunch, take on a hike, or just eat as a snack. And they have that collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. Go to Built.com and get Built granola bars right now. Use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. I want to thank you so much again for making Locked On Bruins your first listen every day. We have an important favor to ask you now. We put together a survey so we can learn more about listeners like you and make your favorite Locked On podcasts even better. You can go to lockedonpodcasts.com/survey to get started. It won't take you very long, and everyone that completes a survey qualifies for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. Go to lockedonpodcasts.com/survey. Thank you so much for your help. So the 2016 trade deadline, Don Sweeney made a couple of moves, adding some veteran forwards. One veteran forward, one veteran defenseman in Lee Stempniak, John Michael Liles. In 2016-2017, the Bruins were still struggling. They had a 26-23-6 record as of February 7th. And on that day, Claude Julien was relieved of his duties and replaced with Bruce Cassidy. On March 1st, Don Sweeney made a trade to acquire Drew Stafford from the Winnipeg Jets. The deal was for a 5th-round pick in 2018, although there were some conditions on that pick. At first, it was a 6th-round conditional pick. It would upgrade it to a 5th if the Bruins made the playoffs. Spoiler alert, I already gave that away, I suppose. And a 4th if they got to the 2nd round. Also, Drew Stafford had to play in 50% of the games. That year, the Bruins were eliminated in the first round, losing to the Ottawa Senators in 6 games. Therefore, the pick became a 5th-rounder in 2018, and that was used to select Declan Chisholm with the 150th overall pick. He played in 2 games for the Jets this past season, and in 53 games for the Manitoba Moose, he recorded 9 goals, 21 assists. So decent minor leaguer, I suppose. But the key there is that the Bruins did indeed advance to the playoffs that year. Their first time they did so in Don Sweeney's time as general manager and with Bruce Cassidy as head coach. Now, they did lose to the Ottawa Senators that year in a 6-game first-round series. That was the year the Senators advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals, losing to Pittsburgh in Game 7. That series against Boston, highlighted by that just otherworldly pass by Erik Karlsson to Mike Hoffman. I thought the Bruins had a chance to win that series, but Ottawa just had something special going on. So to recap, Don Sweeney's first 2 trade deadlines as general manager, he swapped a handful of picks that largely haven't amounted to regular NHLers, with the exception of Mario Ferraro in San Jose, for John Michael Liles, Lee Stempniak, and Drew Stafford. I should add Drew Stafford, 18 games for the Bruins, 4 goals, 4 assists for 8 points in the regular season. In those 6 playoff games, he did chip in 2 goals in their effort against the Ottawa Senators. Now, Sweeney would go almost a whole year before making another trade. These ones came at the 2018 trade deadline, and we'll talk about those on a future episode of Locked On Boston Bruins, as they were a bit more significant, and this marked when Sweeney started to take some bigger swings on the trade market. I hope you're enjoying this look back at Don Sweeney's trade record. Prior to the draft, we're going to look at his draft record as well. Some real ups and downs for Don Sweeney at the draft beginning in 2015. Seems to have improved over the years, and it will be interesting to look back at that. And we'll also look at his signings as well. Now, all this is being talked about because Cam Neely told us a couple weeks ago that it seemed imminent that Sweeney would sign a contract extension as Boston's general manager. A lot of people have different opinions on that. I feel overall he's done okay as Boston general manager, and we'll see how that develops here as we look back at his history in terms of moves. Of course, Bruce Cassidy's standing was a bit more tenuous after those exit interviews. Don Sweeney has already replaced the coach once. General manager, you'd think maybe gets 2 selections for the head coach role, and then things start to fall more on him. So if there's any moves, we might see it there. Now, before we get to some news and notes from around the NHL, I want to thank you again for making Locked On Bruins your first listen every day. Now check out the Locked On NHL podcast. Locked On NHL covers the playoffs like no other. Hear the latest news and opinions from local experts every Monday through Friday, free and available wherever you get podcasts. Now, speaking of trades, the Bruins need to shore up the center position. And one of the names that had been raised was Mark Scheifele of the Winnipeg Jets. The 29-year-old made headlines in Winnipeg last month when he seemed to be questioning his future with the club after they missed the playoffs. However, Winnipeg Jets general manager expects Scheifele to return to the club next season. This according to Mike Zeisberger of NHL.com. Cheveldayoff said the exit interview went well. He chalked up Scheifele's comments to emotion of missing the playoffs. The longtime Jets forward has 2 years remaining on his contract. His numbers have, been declining a bit over the last few years. But he's still a pretty good offensive center. Maybe not, the best defensively. If issues continue to linger next season, perhaps he'd be a candidate to be moved. Or maybe he might ask for a trade. I think he'd be a pretty good second-line center for the Boston Bruins. And again, they're going to have to continue to look around to shore up that position, especially if Patrice Bergeron decides not to come back. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals went last night. The Rangers, surprising with 6 goals against Andrei Vasilevsky and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Frank Vatrano with a goal. He's a guy that we'll talk about in the coming days when it comes to Don Sweeney's trade history. But a very impressive game for the Rangers. Their kid line of Philip Hedl, Alex Lafreniere, and Capo Caco made the difference. Just really giving the Lightning trouble all night long. Awards have started to be handed out around the NHL. Instead of a typical award ceremony, they're doing it kind of NBA style, handing them out during games. Last night, it was the Mark Messier Leadership Award. It was given to Anze Kopitar of the Los Angeles Kings. I believe it's June 5th that the Selke Trophy will be awarded, most likely, hopefully, respectfully, prayerfully, to Patrice Bergeron of the Boston Bruins. I believe that's it for today's episode, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. I hope you're all having a great week. It's Thursday. Like I said off the top, it's 3-pitch night up here for me. We had a bit of a heat wave the last couple days, but it's cooled off. Should be a perfect night for ball at one of my favorite parks in town, so that'll be fun. I did watch the first 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the first one, to be honest, put me to sleep, but I did go back and rewatch it to see that hilarious, terrible chase scene near the end where a young, well, I won't spoil it, but wow. A few shows I'm excited to see how they wrap up here over the weekend. The Staircase on HBO Max we've been really enjoying. Under the Banner of Heaven with Andrew Garfield, and Hacks as well. All of those wrapping up with The Boys set to drop tomorrow, which is an amazing show on Amazon Prime for those of you who like your superhero content. Irreverent superhero content. All right, that's it for today, friends. Hope, have a great Thursday, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow here on the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.